So, welcome to a special edition of Do You Bamboo for now. This is Papa Wolf coming to you from Wolf Tracks Life Designs, and we are going to address some internet nonsense about the latest Bamboo firmware that is of concern to some new Bamboo users. But first, I want to recognize the pioneers of 3D printing. These are the folks that spent countless hours over the past couple of decades experiencing a level of frustration that we will never know. Tinkering in their basements, garages, and spare bedrooms, they had to put together, build by hand, printers from parts they ordered in catalogs, purchased at swap meets, and eventually were able to find stuff online. These are the folks we owe our gratitude because without their perseverance to the hobby, we would not enjoy what we have today through Bambu Labs. To these giants that paved the way, I say thank you. So let's take a look at the Bambu Labs firmware. I'm going to give you the perspective from an IT professional. Yeah, that's what I do in my other life. I've been immersed in the IT engineering life for over 30 years, and I experience this very thing very often. So let's get to it. What is this Bamboo firmware? Number one, it's a beta for the X1C. If you don't have an X1C, you won't see this update anytime soon. If you have one, it's optional. Number two, it enhances security for your print jobs and printers by adding a layer of authentication or authorization to the Bamboo cloud. What does this mean to you? If you have an X1C and use the Bamboo apps and the Bamboo clouds, nothing. If you want to use another slicer instead of Bamboo Studio, you'll have to go through a few more hoops until your chosen slicer, like Orca, becomes compatible with the new authentication. The only folks really negatively affected by this are those who have large print farms that are managed by special third-party apps that can handle more than 10 printers at a time. From an IT professional perspective, increased security is usually a good thing. There are evil people in the world who want to do evil things, and that Bambu Lab wants to protect you, your printers, and the cloud shows a higher level of responsibility and care to you, to them, and to us, to everybody. So let's set aside all the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, also known as FUD, and look at some facts. So let's go to the browser. So looking at Bamboo, this is Bamboo's website, we're going to take a look at their announcement for this update. Now, I'm going to put these links in the description so you can go and look at them at your own time and make your own decisions and scrutinize things for yourself. But they've actually revised it a couple times because they've made changes according to feedback from the users. Hey, we want to know about this. Hey, what about that? So they're putting all this information out here. And here's where you have it's an update for the X1C printers. It's optional. What it's going to affect, what it's not going to affect, and then options you have for the authorization features in the firmware. And then they also talk about their network plugin for third-party slicers, and they specifically mention Orca. Orca Slicer. They work very closely with them. And the Bamboo Connect software that's supposed to have interfaced is going to work with Orca. So once that's published, it'll be out there. And guess what? Orca is going to work. And then for their partners, because they do reach out to third-party partners and say, hey, we know this might affect you. Go with us. We're going to say, we're going to help. And then also information for Orca Slicer users and things that kind of get the word out there. But then everybody complained and everybody was making up things and saying, Bamboo Lab's going to do this, Bamboo Lab's going to do that. So they came out with another article. Again, this will be linked in the description, setting the record straight. So it's not going to disable your printer. It's not going to block your printer's ability to print. It's not going to restrict you to filaments from Bambu Labs. Blah, 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 blah. All these things that people are complaining that Bamboo might do. But they give you some options here. They can't have the standard mode by default and the developer mode, which is kind of like LAN mode. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then also some truths. I encourage you to read these and make up your own mind, but also I'm going to give you a little bit more info. So they're mentioning some protocols here, MQTT, and a little bit later they're going to talk about FTP. Those are very important because as an IT professional, I get to deal with those all the time. And they're not that much fun, and they need to be secured. And so if you want to get really technical, here's how Bambu Connect is going to be intended to work. And again, they're also saying, hey, if you're a print farm management software developer, if you're a third-party development for hardware and software, reach out to us. We want to help. Now, the protocols they mention, MQTT and FTP, are kind of hard to secure. So Bambu is looking at them. They can't really do that on all the computers or all the printers. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. But if Bambu was really going to do things nefarious, as people claim, why would they supply so many parts? Because they want you to fix your own stuff. I have a P1S, and here are all the parts for the P1 series. There's a ton of parts. You can almost build an entire Bambu Labs printer from spare parts. Almost, but not quite. And they're not that expensive. So you don't have to pay outrageous fees to send your printer back to Bambu and have them fix it and wait weeks and months to get back. They have all the parts here that you can order. Now, talking some about some of those printer ports, here are all the ports that your printer uses. Quite a few. Some of them are pretty normal, some of them you might recognize, others you may not. But there are a lot because Bambu printer is basically a computer. It's a computer that does one very specific thing, actually several very specific things, because it controls the print head, it controls the flow of the filament, it tells, hey, let's put this layer here and go in this direction, and bed's going to rise and fall, or if you have a bed slinger, it's going to go back and forth. It's going to do all these things. But it's software, and it communicates to the cloud. And the best way to communicate, to secure that communication, because this printer computer that you have is not very powerful. So let's think about that. It's not very powerful. So some of you are going to recognize this. This is a Raspberry Pi. I use Raspberry Pis a lot. I use them for prototyping. I use them for servers. I use them in large language modeling, or excuse me, you know, basically AI type stuff for testing. And I use it for fun because they are fun little boxes. But it's very powerful by comparison because it needs to do a lot of things. Your Bambu printer computer that's inside it is not very powerful because it doesn't need to be. That also helps keep the price down. So because it's not so powerful, and they're using these protocols, MQTT and FTP, the best way to secure without really affecting your printer is to secure an authorization layer in the cloud. They got cloud computing, they've got a lot more power than your printer has. So this layer of authorization is going to ensure that you are recognized as the owner of that printer and you are authorized to send a job to that printer and receive messages from that printer. So what do these protocols do? So FTP transfer the files from your printer, or actually from your computer or wherever it is, your slicer, to the printer. And MQTT is a messaging protocol. Kind of thing is like sending a personal message, a PM, or a messaging app, but it's much smaller. But it contains some very important information. Now, as we're looking at this, they can't really secure that at the level of a very weak computer because it would require more processing power, and they want to dedicate as much processing power to your print job so you get great prints. Kind of makes sense. Now they recognize a threat because every cloud provider gets attacked relentlessly 24/7, and they can see these threats. So Bambu is protecting your printer like the computer it is, and also taking some of that power or that need for extra computing power and putting it in the cloud rather than on you. So that's another reason why they need vendors to work with them because when they're talking about software that's going to be running on a computer, and doing a lot of things, basically taking advantage of some of the holes that the bad guys would also take advantage of. They need to help. So, looking at everything Bambu has done so far means they've spent a lot of years and a lot of time and a lot of effort to bring ease of use and reliability to the 3D printing world and you and me. So, if this was such a bad thing, why are all the other 3D printer manufacturers trying to copy it? I mean, it's a success. So they don't want to damage their business and reputation. They want to increase it. And one of the ways of doing that is making sure that your print head doesn't come crashing into your print plate or your jobs don't mysteriously stop in the middle, like I've had a few times happen. So they want to protect all that. They want to protect you and me. There's a lot of people speculating that Bamboo's going to do nefarious things. You know, just like they listed on their website. Go and read what people are saying. But a lot of things could happen. Other things could happen too. I mean, government could stop wasting our tax dollars. Venezuela could hold free and fair elections. And Disney, yes, Disney, could stop charging admission and let everybody ride the rides for free. Oh, that'd be so wonderful and crowded. But these things could happen, but aren't very likely, except for Venezuela, and we hope the best for them. Freedom is a beautiful and wonderful thing. So why security and why now? So ease of use and tight security rarely walk hand in hand. This is from an IT person who has to struggle with this day in and day out. I have users who want something easy to use, but they also want it to be secure because we don't want the bad guys doing things and stealing stuff from us, information, etc., disrupting our business. So Bambu sees the threat, and it's already happened to another 3D printer vendor. It wasn't bad. Somebody was just actually trying to help, but it exposed all these holes. And it's not just that. Like I said, every cloud vendor has this issue, and Bamboo is being proactive about it. And this is a good thing. But people could say, isn't this beta? And all Bamboo printers will get it eventually? More than likely. If you read their website, they say that this firmware is going to become a part of all future Bamboo printers. Now, I'm reading that and I'm thinking they're probably going to make it available or actually push it out too, and you can apply it or not apply it to the A1s, the A1 minis, the P1 series with P1S and P1P, the X1C or an X1E, if you can afford one of those. Those seem really nice. But it's there. It's software. And whether you like it or not, all the things that make Bamboo great is software. And when they test software, they do a beta, they refine the beta, because there's normally a cycle where they do that. They find out what works and doesn't work, and then they release it. Make it a more formal, hey, here's our release. You've probably experienced this with Windows. You experienced this with Mac OS, Adobe products, Microsoft products. This is the same thing. So in that refinement process, there's going to be exposing of bugs. There's going to be feedback from users. So if you are concerned about this, take your feedback to Bamboo and let them know, hey, we're concerned about this because they've already addressed it once. And if it's a new valid concern, they listen. So going back to everything being software, everything that makes Bambu Labs great, everything that attracted us to Bambu Labs is the software. From the apps to the cloud to the firmware, it's all software. And whether you like it or not, software is licensed. It's not purchased. It hasn't been for decades. Even before then, it wasn't like purchased. People didn't realize it was licensed and not purchased. But with Bamboo, it's that software that makes us love them so much. They want to protect that. They don't want you to have a bad experience with their software. They don't want you to have bad experience 3D printing. They want to keep that reputation of being a revolutionary 3D printing company. So what we experience, from those pioneers before, they didn't have any of this. They didn't have anybody looking out for them. Bamboo is looking out for us. But one of the alternatives that Bambu mentions, and a lot of people have complained about online, is LAN mode. And I've actually spent a week in LAN mode, and it is not beginner friendly. So you probably would not enjoy it as a new Bambu user. Many of the features that we love and depend on are not available in LAN mode. So venture there if you want, and you'll probably learn a lot, which would be good, but it won't be much fun at the start. So let me show you. So looking at Bambu Studio, I have a model loaded, and it's on one of my non-LAN mode printers. You can see I have it loaded. I actually even have it sliced ahead of time because that can take a while. And everything looks normal. So you can look at the device and we can say, hey, here's the model, everything we need to see. We can go to the device and say, look, here's all of our filament. And you know what? You see all these things in LAN mode too. But when you print the plate, let's go back here, and this is going to take a little time because it's going to take it to the cloud first. So what it's doing is uploading the job to the cloud. Now here's the cool thing. It's uploading it to the cloud at your line speed of your internet connection. So while it's not very big right now, it's going to load pretty quickly. Now, what's going to happen in a second? Bingo, we go back here and we see, hey, it's going to be downloading this. Now while it's downloading this, we can go to another printer. So if you go to multi-device, oh, hey, I'm actually missing a printer. Well, that printer is in LAN mode. So in LAN mode, you don't get to see this in the multi-devices because you can add printers. But I am missing Matilda. But not to fret, Matilda is here. And if you look, there's Matilda in LAN mode. So I'm going to click on Matilda in LAN mode. Now notice it takes a little bit more time to connect than it did before. So I'm going to go back to this same model. Remember how I told you it kind of drops the LAN mode printers in priority. So now I actually have to go back and grab Matilda and make sure I'm set to the right one. And then we're going to send it. Now this time it's going to be slower because it's printing over LAN. And again, going from a computer via FTP to a very small, very low power computer is going to take more time because that's not really what it was kind of designed for. It's designed to download from the cloud in the background and let you continue on. But it is an option. And it's slow. It's still slow. Waiting, waiting, waiting. We might just jump ahead to get to the printer. But in the meantime, like you saw in the other two, I was able to send the job, move to another printer, and check on this in the multi-device window. But it's not here in the multi-device window, which really kind of blows. Now, the only benefit that I've been able to find to LAN mode is on the camera, you might actually get that 1 frame per second video rate. When you have to go through the cloud, sometimes it's a bit slower, but still not great. Now, on Series Black, I can go to the MicroSD card and I can see all the models that have printed on here. And I can actually print from that card. It saves you a lot of time because you don't have to rebuild the G code. You don't have to, do all the preparing and everything. So this is a shortcut if you didn't know this, by the way. So there are other things too that you don't get with printers in LAN mode. Because you don't have that integration with the Bambu cloud, you don't get the status messages. You have to come here and watch the status. So if there's a problem, you won't know about it unless you're watching it or you're watching Bambu Studio for that specific printer. And you can't look away from it if you want to follow along like you can with the other ones under the multi-device tab. You have to watch that one specifically. Not a great prospect. The other thing, because it doesn't interact with the Handy app, you cannot exclude a model on a plate if it has a problem. And that's a wonderful feature in the Handy app. Because if you have multiple models on a plate and you've got one that's kind of stringing or has lost adhesion and you don't want to waste the filament on it, you can exclude it through the Handy app. But you can't do that anymore. So this is why I don't recommend LAN mode, especially for new users. So why am I making this video now? Well, I was prompted to make this video after reading a post by grandfather on one of the Bambu user forums. 'Cause he bought this printer for him and his grandsons to spend time together. They were going to learn. They're going to learn science stuff. They're going to learn CAD, math without knowing that they're learning math. Awesome. Build some great things, build some fun things, and then have great time with their grandfather. Yeah, I wish I could have more time with my grandfather, but that just wasn't in the cards. So it's important. So the people who are spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD, they're stealing their joy. And as we can see, there's no good reason for it. They're upset. I get that. They're venting, they're lashing out, but they're not really helping. They're not helping the new user by assuring them they made a good purchase. And that's not right. That's not a way to build community. So, what should you do as a new Bambu Lab printer owner? If you love your Bambu experience, roll with it. You don't need to change. The only thing that's going to happen is you might have to do another layer of authentication once, maybe twice, and it'll remember it. If you change things, you might have to do it again. But you still get that Bambu experience that attracted us to them in the first place. And besides, unless you have an X1C right now and enjoy beta software, it's not a concern. Just keep on doing what you're doing. And by the way, as an IT professional that does a lot of security work and application deployment and scripting and programming, I do not let my users run beta software. So even if you do have an X1C and the beta is available, I'd still recommend not to apply it. But again, go at your own risk. Might learn something, might find out, hey, it's no big deal, which it probably is. But usually beta software has lots of bugs. And if you're new, you may not be ready for that. So I've been called a Bambu fanboy, and I'm not necessarily married to Bambu printers and the software, but right now it does what I need it to do in a way that I need it done. And people ask, will you buy another Bambu printer? Because I see people online saying, I'm never buying another Bambu printer, blah, 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 blah. You're going to be hard pressed to find the same experience that you have with Bambu Labs. But will I buy another Bambu printer? Yeah, most likely, unless there's another printer that's better, faster, and cheaper. But there's certain aspects of physics that would have to be overcome to do that. And that would probably wipe out the cheaper part. But what am I going to do in the meantime? I'm going to keep calm and Bambu on. And I would encourage you to do the same. Don't let people steal your joy. You're going to have fun. You've already had fun if you've already started using it. So just roll on. So until the next time, and we'll talk about the video that this was supposed to be, about printing from your phone and finding other STLs and files to use and how to load them and all that kind of good stuff. But until then, keep bambooing.